Hello everyone, welcome to the very first episode of Funds in the Sun. Please excuse my voice. My entire house just recovered from being sick. I am the only one who got nasally congested and still sounds nasally and congested and like I'm plugging my nose, but I promise I'm not. So I was gonna wait to do this when my voice got better, but I don't know when that's gonna be. And I don't want to be waiting until the summer. So here we are. Please excuse that. I will introduce myself if you aren't familiar with me. I am good grief. I am 27 years old. I am a wife. My husband and I have been together almost 8 years, married almost 5, and I am a mom to a 2-year-old boy. Very sweet. I just love him so much. I really realized money and money talk does something for me. I don't know what it is, but talking about money, I talk about money all the time with my mom and our budgeting. It just does something for me. I don't know. And I feel like I have started and restarted and stopped and started my budgeting journey so many times that this last time really felt like a setback for a setup. And my mom says that all the time, and that is really what it feels like. So I'm very excited to take a new approach and see where things go. That's all you can do. Just see where things go. Do your best, see where things go. If things don't work out, you could change them. And that's really the best part about budgeting, because you don't have to stick with one thing. You don't have to stick with what you start. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to keep doing what isn't working. You can always tweak it. You can always try different things. And yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So today I am going to give you the rundown, give you the tea, give you the skinny of where my debt started and where I'm at now. So let's hop into it. So my very first job was with a program through my mom's job. She worked for the city, and it was like a teen work program. So the city came up with a certain allotted amount of funds that they were going to use to pay everyone in the program. I was 16, and I believe the ages they allowed were 16 through 19, I want to say. And I say 19 because one of my really close friends at the time, she was 19, and I don't think there's anybody older than her. So we went through this week-long training program kind of thing. It was more so like you learn team building, you learn like etiquette of answering the phone, stuff like that. And then you get like you answered questions and did a questionnaire kind of thing, and then you get placed with different departments within the city, which I thought was really cool. But I did not want garbage. I did not want to be part of waste management, and I would have cried if I had gotten placed there. But the work gods were with me, on my side. I got placed at an animal shelter, my heart. And I met one of my best friends that I am still best friends with to this day. And one of my other, the close friend I mentioned, I'm still, follow her on Instagram. So when I got placed there, we got paid every single Friday. Not taxed. Come on. It doesn't get any better than that. Once I got my first check, I told myself, you know what? I don't have any bills. I had maybe my phone bill at that point, or maybe I offered to my mom, like, hey, I'll take over my phone bill. I know the very first check I got, I think maybe I took like 2 or 3 checks, saved up money or something like that. I don't know. But I bought myself an iPhone 4. Yeah, it was 2012 when I was 16, an iPhone, and I went all out and got like the store-bought leopard case. And like when you get a phone case in store, it's like $50. I was ecstatic. Like, I bought my own phone, so yeah, that was a time. But I told myself, I'm not gonna like go crazy, but I do want to like start saving money. And my grandma has always told me save for a rainy day, because if you haven't had one is on the way. At 16, what does a rainy day look like? So I tried to be smart with my money, but I mean, when you get paid every week and it's not taxed, you know So that program actually ended up ending 2 weeks early, because the allotted funds that they had set aside to pay us ran out, because they did not expect all of us to make it as far as we made it. They thought we were going to get fired. They thought we were going to quit. And only 2 people out of the entire program got fired, like actually got fired. I want to say there were I don't think there were 100 of us, maybe 80. I don't really know. I want to say maybe like 80 of us in total, including the 2 that got fired. So that was in August when that program ran out. And by the beginning of my junior year, which was a couple months later, the first week of school, September of 2012, I had an interview at a restaurant, and I didn't really get interviewed. The manager, who's so sweet to this day, still super sweet, he just said, okay, so here's going to be your schedule. Here's what training's going to look like. And I was like, oh, I prepared myself for an interview, but okay, cool. I guess I got the job. No one told me how restaurant works, but it's fine. And the tip share made no sense to me. I didn't understand why I was getting paid $2.13 an hour, but also getting tips that was split between back of the house, kitchen people, servers, hostesses, and I was a hostess. It didn't make sense to me. But I remember my second week after I worked, someone said to me, "Did you pick up your tips?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "You pick up your tips. Like, you can pick up your tips every night, like the night after you work." And I went and picked up my tips, and I hadn't picked up my tips in 2 weeks, and none of the managers said anything. No one else said anything to me except one of my coworkers. And I picked up my tips, and my tips for 2 weeks were like $200 something. So I was shocked. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. I don't even know how much came from each night, but they did write it on the envelope how much you got each night, tip share, whatever. When I got that first paycheck, though, that first paycheck was like $7. So I didn't quite understand it, and honestly, I still don't quite understand it, but tip your servers. That's all I can say on that. Tip your servers, please. They are highly aware that they make $2.13 or something around that an hour. And if you're the kind of person that says, oh, well, they can find a better job, I'm sure they can, but this is probably the only job that A, they want to be in, B, they don't have a choice to be in, or C, it works best for them and their life and their kids, their family, just whatever. Just tip your server, okay? Like, they would rather you tip $5 than nothing. Thank you. So I worked in restaurant for 4 years, and I budgeted, maybe. I don't know if I'd really call it budgeting, but I would write down how much I got, and if I had my phone bill, which I did, I would, write down how much that is, how much needs to come out for that. But I wasn't really saving. I was saving a little here and there, and then I'd go shopping or something like that. But when I turned 18, so my second year of working restaurant, I told my mom, I want to get a credit card. I want to build credit. I'm only going to use this credit card for gas. And I laugh at 18-year-old me, because I was just using it for gas at first, and then it turned into, oh, I blew my tip money, my work money. I have a credit card. I'm going to go eat out, or I'm going out, with my friends or something. I'm going to go shopping at the mall and buy something. And before you know it, the sweet little $500 credit card is now maxed out. Oh, here we are. I did manage to pay that $500 credit card off before I upped it to $1,000. Should not have done that, but You can't tell an 18-year-old anything. So I only had the one credit card at 18. And then by 21, I moved to Charlotte with my now husband, then boyfriend. Maxed that out in Charlotte to cover my expenses because jobs there were just not good. We lived in Charlotte for a year, moved back. When I moved back, I got a job with a credit union, and I did what's called a balance transfer. So I opened a credit card with the credit union I was now working at to pay off the credit card that I had already had. So that takes me from one credit card with $1,000 limit to a new credit card with I think I did, I want to say a $3,000 limit to give myself some space just in case I needed something for emergencies. So my credit card balance, total overall now went from $1,000 to $4,000. I had no intentions of using the second credit card for anything, but I did max that out. Then I ended up at some point maxing out the other one that I just did a balance transfer for. You see where we're going here? So now with 2 maxed out credit cards, where do we go from here? We go to where I get engaged, and I wanted a wedding, and I got a personal loan from the credit union I was working at to cover wedding expenses and also pay down the credit cards. Now we've got 2 credit cards and a personal loan. The wedding was beautiful. I have no regrets, none at all. So my intention was, of course, to work to pay all these off. And I feel like I was slowly watching myself kind of get a little buried under the debt. It wasn't that, it wasn't terrible at that point, but I really went from $500 debt to $4,000, and then, $500 to $1,000 to $4,000, and then a $2,000-$3,000 personal loan. It starts to creep up towards $10,000. This does not include my student debt, because to me, I'm not counting my student debt. My student debt balance is currently at $16,000. That is what it is. I don't have a degree. I went to 3 different schools, and I feel like I have nothing to show for it, but that's okay. So then enter Capital One. Either you love them or you hate them. And honestly, getting a Capital One credit card was supposed to be my offset to strictly only use it for emergencies. Does that ever really happen? Because you cannot plan what's going to happen. So no, that didn't happen. At first, I set it aside, didn't even think about it. And then at some point, I used a little bit, and then a little bit, and then a little bit, and then a little bit. And before you know it, the $5,000 Capital One credit card is again maxed out. So we are now in the year 2021. I find out very early February that I am pregnant. My husband and I are very ecstatic. It was planned, I was just super ecstatic, super excited. The one thing that you cannot change when you're pregnant is your maternity leave. All kinds of jobs have all different kinds of benefits. Some have no benefits, unfortunately. The job that I currently had, which at this point was in the shipping industry, it was about $400 less than what I would normally get had I worked physically. So I had from February up until October for my maternity leave. My son was due in October 2021. I had all that time to save, and I did not. If I could go back in time, I absolutely would. I would do my best, but rent is expensive, groceries are expensive, all these things, And I do want to say, my husband and I do not have any joint debt. We don't have any joint credit cards. We do have a joint account, of course, for bills, but my debt is my debt, and I want to keep it that way. I do not want to drag him into my debt. So he knows everything that's going on, but I keep my debt – because it's my debt. So, In May or June, when I was starting to think about my maternity leave, and that was when I found out how much less my checks were probably going to be, I knew, one, that I wanted to work from home. I did not want to send my son to a daycare, especially, you only get 6 to 8 weeks paid maternity leave. I knew I did not want to send him to a daycare that young. I knew I wanted to work from home, and I was determined to find something to work from home. And I was keeping my managers in the loop, like, hey, I don't feel comfortable coming in. And they were gracious enough, and I'm very thankful for that they let me stay home and work. There was a period where everybody did have to come in for 2 weeks and then we'd be back home. But then at some point they just said, you know what, you guys can work from home. It's fine. So around May, June of 2021, I applied for 2 different personal loans to put aside into savings to cover me for maternity leave. I believe the total of those was $4,000 or $5,000. And I was able to actually stick to what I said I wanted it to be for. I kept it in the savings and would only pull from it if needed. So that gives me 2 extra personal loans on top of 3 maxed out credit cards at this point, and another maxed out personal loan, of course, because, you get personal loans, it goes into your account, you use it, whatever. So I will be completely honest with you guys. My grandpa passed away in April 2021. So same year I find out I'm pregnant, same year I'm going on maternity leave having my son. My grandpa passed in April 2021. My aunt told me that I would be getting an inheritance because my dad passed when I was 8. So therefore, in my grandpa's life insurance, I was receiving what my dad would have received. And in September 2021, so this is after I've already gotten these other loans for maternity leave purposes. In September 2021, I received the inheritance, and I try not to think too much about it, but I did use a good portion of it on top of the personal loans to cover expenses during maternity leave. But if I could go back in time, I would have absolutely taken that money and put it in a savings account for my son. And I did not. So I can't go back and change anything, but there are just so many, there's things that I think about and I'm like, I could have done so much better. I could have put myself ahead. I could have put my son ahead, but you know what? All you can do is go forward from here, and that's what we're doing. Continuing on. So I go on maternity leave, and when I got my very first maternity leave paycheck, I wanted to cry. I knew it was going to be about $400 less, and oh my gosh, was it. Actually seeing the amount in your account when you're used to, this, that, and the third, you have to pay rent, you have to do this, you have to do that. I could always go on and on about maternity leave needing to be better, but it won't change anything. That is how we get from 1 credit card to 3 credit cards to 1 personal loan to now 3 to 4 personal loans, because I felt so insecure about being on maternity leave and needing this time. Like, I took 12 weeks and it was all paid. I have no regrets at all. I took my 12 weeks. I was not about to let the fear of not having enough money, when I knew I had already taken these loans out beforehand, to keep me from bonding with my son and actually taking the time I need to recover. So 12 weeks still is not enough, however, but once I got back to my job, I was told you can stay until the end of February. So this is beginning of January at this point. I was told you can stay until the very end of February, work from home, let us know your decision. If by the end of February you decide to stay, you will need to come back in office, which I did not feel comfortable with because, mind you, at this point, 2021, my grandma actually passed about almost 2 weeks before my son was born. She passed from COVID. So in my brain, I feel like it's everywhere. I don't want to bring it home to my son. I don't even want to be in the office. I haven't been in the office for over a year. It wasn't happening. Thankfully, again, the work gods were in my favor. I applied, interviewed, got the job all within a week at the company I am at now. It is now it's another shipping company, and it just worked out so perfectly. And I work from home full time. I'm very grateful. I'm thankful, grateful, all that. So I left that job and got my last check from that job, filed my taxes, got my taxes back, got my first paycheck from my new job, literally all within a month. And this was right around the time as well that I had started cash stuffing on YouTube, and I was trying to find a way to better manage my money, budget, find things that would help me, like set aside money for things that I knew were coming up, like bills, things for my dog and my cat, my son, splitting rent in half, putting money towards different things. And then that's when I actually came across cash stuffing on YouTube, and I was obsessed with watching videos. And it seems that everyone that is into cash stuffing or does cash stuffing on YouTube, Instagram, we all found it the same way. We either looked up Dave Ramsey, or we looked up budgeting or cash or something, and became immediately obsessed with cash stuffing and watching cash stuffing videos. And I'm so grateful that I found the actual cash stuffing community, because it is such an empowering community of people that have the same mindset and the same goals as you. But I found that my downfall was I was comparing myself to other people, and no one made me feel like I was in competition except myself. And it wasn't really competition. It was, wow, they're stuffing this amount and they're here with this goal. They have this in their savings. They're doing a bill swap. They're able to stuff, X amount for this paycheck, and I was only able to stuff this amount. Wow, I'm getting nowhere. And honestly, I was putting the restrictions on myself. I was putting the comparison on myself. No one made me feel this way. Everyone else in this community is so supportive, and I'm supportive of everyone. It was just more so in my head. It was me making me feel like you're behind. You're not doing as well as everyone else. You're, just stop. What's the point? What are you doing it for? And then I noticed that I started stuffing amounts that didn't actually make sense to me and my budget. I was upping amounts to keep up. I was neglecting things that shouldn't have been neglected and then trying to make up for it later, and it just messed me up, and I ended up getting too far down the rabbit hole, I don't know. And I just had to completely deplete all my envelopes, and I got really frustrated because I'm like, no one is doing this to me but me. I am my own worst enemy here. And it was very discouraging because I started out so great. I got my tax return, I stuffed that, and I was like, oh, my tax return video got so many views and my subscriber count is going up, and I honestly lost all focus of what was so important to me in the first place, and that was getting on track. That was finding a community that wants to do the same thing that I'm doing, the same mindset, the same, just money focus. And I left YouTube, I left Instagram to try to get myself back on track, and I noticed for some odd reason when I wasn't filming my stuffing, I stopped stuffing. Like, I felt like I didn't have anyone to report to. I didn't have anyone to hold me accountable. And honestly, I need to be the one to hold myself the most accountable, if no one else. So I got back into cash stuffing on YouTube again, January 2022. And again, started off really well, January through about May or June. And then I noticed I started to fall off again. I started doing the same thing. I started comparing myself. I started losing sight and losing focus of what I'm really here for, what I'm really doing this for. And again, I had to pull myself out of it and just say, what are you doing? Literally, what are you doing? Like, you have got to stay focused. Like, what is the problem here? And here we are in 2024. We're in 2024 at this point. I started YouTube in January 2022, started again in January 2023, and here we are, January 2024. We are 3 years in the making, and I'm trying something new. I enjoy talking about money. I enjoy talking about budgeting and what's helped me. And I feel like I have a brand new perspective. I have a brand new mindset. I am ready. I'm very determined. So all of this leading me to say my start over date is December 27th, 2023. Not my start date. I've been trying. All you can do is try your best. In 3 paychecks, I have been able to save $160 for myself and $60 for my son, which may not seem like a lot, but to me, I'm only focusing on me. I had to start somewhere. I genuinely had to start somewhere. That's all you can do is start, because if you don't, you're never going to know. Setbacks set you up to come back stronger, okay? That's going to be like my little motto. I'm just very focused, very ready. I have something huge going on financially. I'm not going to speak on it prematurely. I'm going to let it run its course, let it happen, and then I will more than likely talk about it. But this year is a fresh start for me, and I'm very excited. I'm very ready. And I just thank you so much if you are still here, hanging in, listening. I appreciate you so much. I just want to be able to talk about what is in my head, what is going on, and yeah, I hope you'll stick along for the ride. I just really appreciate it. So maybe next time I will grab a coffee and then we will get into whatever the next topic is. But for now, have a good one, guys. Bye.